Adolf Hitler's name evokes a visceral reaction in people all around the world. His legacy is one of unparalleled infamy, a symbol of the darkest chapters in human history. The mere mention of his name conjures images of war, genocide, and the depths of human cruelty. He remains one of the most reviled figures in history. His rise to power and the subsequent atrocities committed under his regime have left an indelible mark on the collective memory of humanity. His actions led to the deaths of millions. The Holocaust, one of the most horrific genocides in history, saw the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, along with countless others deemed undesirable by the Nazi ideology. He plunged the world into a devastating war. World War II, a conflict that engulfed nations and continents, resulted in unprecedented destruction and loss of life. Cities were reduced to rubble, and entire populations were displaced. Hitler's legacy is a stark reminder of the dangers of hatred and intolerance. His regime, built on a foundation of bigotry and xenophobia, demonstrated the catastrophic consequences of unchecked power and prejudice. His regime, fueled by a toxic ideology, left an indelible mark on the 20th century. The impact of his actions reverberates through history, serving as a cautionary tale for future generations. It is essential to understand Hitler's life and his rise to power. By examining the socio-political conditions of early 20th century Germany, we can gain insight into how such a figure could ascend to such heights of power. Only by confronting the darkness of the past can we hope to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The lessons learned from this period are crucial in fostering a world that values peace, tolerance, and human dignity. This essay will explore the key events that shaped Hitler's life and ideology. From his early years in Austria to his rise within the Nazi Party, we will trace the path that led him to become one of history's most infamous figures. We will examine his transformation from a frustrated artist to a ruthless dictator. Understanding this transformation is vital in comprehending the full scope of his impact on the world and the enduring lessons his story imparts. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889. His childhood was marked by both neglect and strictness. His father, a customs official, was a stern and authoritarian figure. His mother, on the other hand, was more affectionate. She sadly died when Hitler was a teenager. This loss deeply affected him.
Young Adolf struggled in school. He excelled in only a few subjects, particularly history and geography. He displayed a talent for drawing and painting. Hitler dreamed of becoming an artist. He yearned to escape the confines of his small town and make a name for himself.
At the age of 18, Hitler traveled to Vienna to pursue his artistic ambitions. He was filled with hope and determination, believing that his talent would be recognized and rewarded in the cultural capital of Europe. He applied to the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts, confident in his abilities. His portfolio, filled with architectural sketches and paintings, was submitted with great anticipation. However, his dreams were shattered when the Academy rejected him, not once, but twice. The rejection letters cited his lack of formal training and insufficient artistic skills, a blow to his self-esteem. These rejections deeply wounded Hitler. He had invested so much of his identity and future in the hope of becoming a successful artist, and now that hope was crushed. They fueled a growing sense of resentment and bitterness. He began to see the world through a lens of personal failure and injustice, feeling that he had been unfairly treated by the establishment.
Adrift in Vienna, Hitler drifted from one menial job to another. He worked as a laborer, a painter of postcards, and even as a handyman, but none of these jobs provided him with the fulfillment he sought. He lived in poverty and became increasingly withdrawn. The harsh realities of life in Vienna, combined with his personal failures, led him to isolate himself from others. It was during this time that he was exposed to the virulent anti-Semitism and nationalism that were prevalent in Vienna at the time. These toxic ideologies began to take root in his mind, providing a scapegoat for his frustrations. Hitler's frustrations and prejudices began to intertwine, forming a dangerous worldview that would have catastrophic consequences. His personal failures and the toxic environment of Vienna combined to create a perfect storm of resentment and hatred.
In 1914, World War I erupted across Europe. Hitler, eager to prove himself and find meaning in the chaos, volunteered for the German army. He served with distinction, earning the Iron Cross for bravery. The horrors of war had a profound impact on Hitler. He witnessed firsthand the brutality and carnage of the trenches. He experienced the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers.
The war also solidified Hitler's nationalist beliefs. He embraced the idea of German superiority and blamed Germany's defeat on internal enemies, particularly Jews and communists. This warped worldview, forged in the Crucible of War, would become the foundation of his political ideology.
After the war, Hitler returned to Germany, a defeated and humiliated nation.
He joined a small right-wing political party known as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short.
Hitler's charisma and powerful speaking abilities quickly propelled him through the ranks.
He tapped into the anger and resentment of the German people who were suffering from economic hardship and political instability.
Hitler promised to restore Germany to its former glory.
He offered scapegoats for the nation's problems: Jews, communists, and other undesirables.
His message resonated with a growing number of Germans, desperate for a solution to their woes.
Section 6. Chancellor and Dictator. In 1933, after years of political maneuvering and street violence, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. He moved swiftly to consolidate his power, transforming Germany from a democracy into a totalitarian state. He outlawed all other political parties. He silenced opposition. He established a vast propaganda machine to spread his message of hate and division. Hitler's government systematically persecuted Jews, stripping them of their rights and citizenship. He unleashed a reign of terror that would culminate in the horrors of the Holocaust. Section 7. The Horror of the Holocaust and World War. Driven by his twisted ideology, Hitler plunged the world into another devastating war. World War II, which began with the invasion of Poland in 1939, would claim the lives of tens of millions of people. Hitler's regime was responsible for unspeakable atrocities. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, stands as a chilling testament to the dangers of unchecked hatred and prejudice.
Hitler's armies, driven by a belief in German supremacy, rampaged across Europe, leaving a trail of destruction and death in their wake.
Section 8. Downfall and Death in the Bunker. As the war turned against Germany, Hitler's grip on power began to slip. Allied forces closed in on Berlin. Facing defeat, Hitler committed suicide in his underground bunker on April 30th, 1945. His dream of a 1,000-year Reich lay in ruins. Hitler's death marked the end of a dark chapter in human history. The world was left to grapple with the devastation and the staggering loss of life. Section 9. Remembering the past, shaping the future. Adolf Hitler's life and legacy serve as a stark warning from history. His actions and the ideology he propagated led to one of the darkest chapters in human history, marked by unprecedented violence and cruelty. His rise to power, fueled by hatred, propaganda, and a thirst for absolute power, demonstrates the fragility of democracy and the devastating consequences of unchecked extremism. The Nazi regime's use of propaganda to manipulate public opinion and incite violence against marginalized groups is a powerful reminder of the dangers of allowing such ideologies to take root. The horrors of the Holocaust stand as a chilling reminder of the dangers of intolerance and the importance of protecting human rights. The systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime, underscores the catastrophic consequences of bigotry and hatred. It is our duty to remember the victims of Hitler's regime and to learn from the mistakes of the past. By honoring their memory, we ensure that the atrocities they suffered are never forgotten and that future generations understand the importance of standing against tyranny and oppression. We must remain vigilant against all forms of hatred and discrimination. In today's world, where divisive rhetoric and actions still threaten to undermine social cohesion, it is more important than ever to promote inclusivity and respect for all individuals, regardless of their background. Only by confronting the darkness and working together can we hope to build a more just and peaceful world. Through education, dialogue, and collective action, we can create a future where the lessons of the past guide us towards a brighter, more harmonious existence for all.